All right, so get ready, because today we are going deep, deep into the world of Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah.
You know him, you've heard about him, but we're going way beyond just the headlines today
Right.
and really trying to understand, the core beliefs that have shaped this guy
Yeah.
using this source here called The Real Story of Donald Trump.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I think it's going to be fascinating for people to hear sort of how this guy ticks, right?
Yeah, and it is fascinating to see how consistent his approach has been throughout his life.
Yeah.
Like whether it's real estate or reality TV or even, we're talking the Oval Office, you see these patterns keep emerging.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're going to try to do for you all today is kind of unpack those patterns and motivations.
Yeah.
And some of the just unbelievable anecdotes that somehow when you put them all together, it starts to kind of make sense.
It's like assembling a puzzle, right? You've
Yeah.
got all these seemingly disparate pieces and childhood in Queens, military school, early forays into real estate. Right.
But as you start fitting them together, you start to see the bigger picture.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start with that childhood, then born into wealth-demanding father. It sounds like the setup for a classic driven to succeed story.
Right, except in Trump's case, it wasn't just about success, it was about winning.
Right.
At all costs, his father, Fred, was a force, in the New York real estate world.
Right.
And he really instilled in Donald this almost ruthless need to dominate, to never show weakness.
Wow, so it's like he inherited this blueprint for success, but also this allergy to losing or something.
Exactly. And that mindset was only reinforced when he was sent to military school.
Oh, wow.
Now, you might think, okay, structure, discipline, that makes sense.
Okay.
But it goes deeper than that. We're talking about a kid winning awards for the tidiest room.
Wow.
This need for outward signs of success, it starts early.
Oh, wow. So even then, image was important. That's wild.
Oh, yeah.
But hold on, you mentioned something about him almost going into filmmaking. I mean, talk about a different path.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah. Makes you wonder what kind of movies director Trump would have made.
Can you imagine?
But, as fate would have it, he ended up joining the family business real estate and initially focused on middle and low-income housing.
Okay, and that's where we hit a really pivotal moment, right?
Mhm.
This 1973 lawsuit from the Justice Department alleging racial discrimination in his rental practices.
Huge.
Ah.
This lawsuit is absolutely crucial to understanding how Trump operates.
Okay.
Because instead of settling, which many would have done, he fought back vehemently.
Wow.
And that right there, that's the pattern that defines his career.
So it's not just about winning. It's about never backing down, even when there are some serious allegations.
Precisely. He'd rather fight, as he himself said, than fold admitting wrongdoing, even if there's evidence just isn't part of his playbook.
Wow. Okay.
And this experience really pushed him towards Manhattan, luxury real estate, where the stakes and the potential for recognition were even higher.
Okay, so he sets his sights on Manhattan in the 70s, a city that was, by many accounts, struggling.
Struggling.
Did he see an opportunity there?
He did. He had this bold vision to revive Manhattan with these grand, ambitious projects like Trump Tower.
Okay.
And this is where his mastery of the media, especially the New York tabloids, really comes into play.
Because he knew how to generate buzz,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, wasn't there something about him using fake names to plant stories about himself?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
He was a master at manipulating the press, even calling reporters pretending to be his own publicist, a guy named John Barron, to brag about his wealth and his deals.
Oh, my gosh.
We actually have a recording of one of those calls.
Wait, seriously, let's hear it.
It's kind of crazy how The Apprentice, single-handedly brought Trump back into the spotlight.
It's true. He was this larger-than-life businessman, but now he was this, captivating TV personality, right?
Totally, and he was the ultimate boss figure.
Right. The Apprentice made him a household name, and that you're fired.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, it's iconic.
Catchphrase.
Yeah, it really is. And it's like the show was almost a training ground for his political aspirations.
Yeah.
Whether he knew it or not.
For sure. I mean, he was honing his persona on a national stage, right?
Yeah.
The tough-talking, decisive leader, always in control.
And it resonated with people.
Huge audience.
Yeah, big time. But even before The Apprentice, he was already kind of poking around in politics, right?
Right.
I mean, wasn't there that whole thing with him questioning Barack Obama's citizenship?
Yeah, that was back in 2011.
Wow.
And it was a very deliberate move, you
Yeah.
know? He was testing the waters, tapping into this, vein of resentment and distrust, that existed among a certain segment of the population.
So he was already, identifying and appealing to a specific base, even back then.
Absolutely. It was strategic.
Wow. And then, of course, comes the 2016 election, right?
Right.
Trump, the ultimate outsider, the anti-establishment candidate, promising to drain the swamp.
Yeah.
It's like he was playing a role he'd been perfecting for decades.
Oh, yeah.
The straight-talking businessman who's not afraid to shake things up.
Totally. And it worked.
And it works.
He defied all expectations and won the presidency even without winning the popular vote.
It's crazy. I mean, it really speaks to his ability to connect with voters who felt ignored by the, political elite.
Absolutely. His victory sent shockwaves through the establishment. But when you look at his life, it makes a strange kind of sense.
It does.
He applied the same tactics that had brought him success in business.
Right.
Self-promotion, branding, and unwavering focus on winning no matter the cost.
Yeah, no matter what. And that brings us to 2020
Yeah.
and his loss to Joe Biden.
Yeah.
We've seen how he reacts to losing. And this time the stakes were incredibly high.
Huge.
Yeah. So how did he respond?
Textbook Trump. He refused to concede, claimed the election was rigged and stolen,
Right.
echoing his reaction to that 1973 discrimination lawsuit. But this time,
Right.
his words had a far greater impact.
Yeah, because they incited an insurrection at the Capitol on January 6th.
Oh, well, yeah.
A dark day in American history.
Absolutely.
His actions damaged democratic norms and really shook the foundations of our political system.
And, it's why figures like Dick Cheney, staunch conservative, former vice president, have spoken out so forcefully against Trump, calling him a threat to our republic.
Yeah.
And Cheney's background, his service in Republican administrations lends a lot of weight to those concerns.
It's kind of chilling to think about it. Now as he, seeks the presidency, once again, it's like we really need to understand this playbook he's been using for decades.
Exactly. We've seen how he operates, the manipulation of the media, the blurring of truth and fiction,
Right.
the relentless focus on winning at all costs. And we have to ask ourselves, what does this mean for our democracy? What happens when this win at all costs mentality clashes with the institutions and norms that govern our society?
Yeah, it raises some really profound questions about the nature of power, image, and truth in the 21st century.
For sure.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, what does Trump's continued relevance say about American society? Is his success a reflection of our values,
Yeah.
our desires, our vulnerabilities even?
It's a lot to unpack.
There's a lot to unpack.
But I think we've laid a good foundation here,
We have.
tracing his journey from childhood to the political stage.
Totally. And in that final part of our deep dive, we're going to explore the implications of his story and what it all might mean for the future of American politics.
Okay, so we've seen how Donald Trump's story really is just this fascinating, blend of ambition and showmanship and just this relentless pursuit of winning no
Right.
matter what the cost.
Yeah.
But as he's seeking the presidency again, it feels crucial to really understand what his, continued relevance says about us,
Yeah.
about American society.
It's a question that goes way beyond just politics, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally.
I mean, because Trump's success, right, both in business and in capturing the attention of, a significant portion of the public, it really speaks to something deeper, I think.
Right. It's like he's tapped into this underlying current of frustration, right?
Yeah. Of people feeling left behind by the system. And he's offering them not just solutions, but a sense of belonging.
Yeah, a sense of being heard.
Right, being heard.
Right.
And he does it by speaking their language, by validating their fears and grievances.
Huh.
Even if those grievances are rooted in, misinformation or a distorted view of reality.
Right.
He's a master at crafting a narrative that resonates emotionally,
Yeah.
regardless of, factual accuracy.
It's that truthful hyperbole
Right.
taken to a whole other level.
Exactly.
But it raises some serious concerns about the future of our democracy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, if facts and truth become increasingly irrelevant, how do we make informed decisions as a society?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we're in this uncharted territory where traditional norms and institutions are being challenged.
Right.
And it's really unclear, what the long-term consequences will be.
Because it's not just about Trump himself, right?
It's about the forces he represents, the trends that he's both amplified and benefited from.
Right.
The rise of social media, the erosion of trust in traditional media, the increasing polarization of our political discourse.
Yeah.
All of these factors have created a climate where someone like Trump can thrive.
And his story, I think, serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of our democratic institutions, of the importance of critical thinking, the need for a shared understanding of reality,
Yeah.
based on facts and evidence.
So what does this all mean moving forward? What have we learned by taking this deep dive into the world of Donald Trump?
Well, for one thing, we've seen how a life spent honing the art of the deal, of
Yeah.
self-promotion, of never backing down,
Right.
can translate, however imperfectly, to the political arena.
Right. We've also seen the power of image, of narrative, of tapping into those emotional undercurrents of society.
Absolutely.
And maybe most importantly, we've been reminded that our democracy, our system of government, it's not something we can take for granted.
No, you can't.
It requires vigilance,
Yeah,
engagement, and a willingness to grapple with those complex issues, even when they're uncomfortable.
totally.
Because ultimately, understanding Donald Trump isn't just about understanding one man. It's about understanding ourselves, our society, and the challenges we face in this rapidly changing world.
Well said.
It's been a fascinating and at times unsettling journey,
Yeah.
but hopefully one that leaves you with more questions than answers. Because those questions, those are the ones that will shape the future of American politics and of our nation as a whole.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, that's all the time we have for today.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the life and times of Donald Trump. It's been a wild ride,
Absolutely.
but we hope you found it insightful and thought-provoking. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and as always, thanks for listening.